everyone. It's so lovely to see so many of you here today. So my name is Maria Kazani and I am the Outreach, Widening Participation and Communications Coordinator here at the Faculty of Law. And I'm going to talk to you today about the application process to Cambridge Law. Starting off strong with the timeline for this process. And the timeline is really important here because it is actually a little bit earlier than other universities. So we'll break down all of those things, but the first thing you should be thinking about is choosing your course. And hopefully, if you've come to this open day, you're at least considering law as one of your subjects. The next step you do is you would choose a college or submit an open application to Cambridge. Book your LNAT admissions test, and that can be booked from the 1st of August, and it has to be sat by the mid of October. And then your UCAS application, so your application deadline for Cambridge, is October 15th at 6 p.m. UK time. That is earlier than other universities where it would be at the end of January, okay? So if you are applying to Cambridge, you have to submit your UCAS application much earlier. And so it's time to be thinking about those things now. A week after that, something called My Cambridge application is due. You might have to submit some written work as well. And you might also have an interview, and that is usually in December. And your decision about your application will come in January. So, before I go into the application itself, I want to address the collegiate system. So, Cambridge and Oxford are actually broken down into what we call colleges. Those are basically like mini campuses, and they provide a base for students. But what is the difference between a college and a university? So the role of the college, and this is really important, is admitting students. So you don't just apply to the University of Cambridge, you have to apply to one specific college, only one. And they are responsible for assessing your application and making a decision on it, and eventually admitting you to the university as well. So if you have questions about the application process or specific eligibility criteria, so perhaps thinking, are your qualifications filling in our entry requirements? Anything about qualifications and entry requirements, you have to address to a college. They are your first point of contact during the admissions process. Colleges also provide academic and pastoral care. So every Cambridge student has something called a Director of Studies. This is a law academic from their college that is responsible for their academic sort of life. So they might provide support if they're struggling with a certain topic. They will just generally overview that you're doing well with your academics, or they're just generally there to ask questions. Or if you feel like you need a little bit more support with something specific, they're there to help you. They also, every student will also get a pastoral tutor. So that is a non-law academic from their college that is responsible for their pastoral life. So their welfare, mental health, that doesn't have to do with their subject, so with law. Colleges do provide accommodation, and the overwhelming majority of Cambridge students live in college accommodation for all 3 years of their undergraduate degree. Do you have to live in college accommodation? Yes and no. So there are residency requirements that you have to submit to as an undergraduate student, and they're quite strict. You have to basically live in the centre of Cambridge City, which is quite expensive. So the cheapest way to do that is by living in college accommodation. It's much cheaper and it's much easier because you are guaranteed college accommodation for your 3 years of your undergraduate degree. And that goes for all colleges. So that's really important. They also provide meals in a subsidized way, in a cafeteria or a hall, and also recreational spaces. They organize more group teaching. So you would have heard about supervisions before, hopefully, from Dr. Angelopoulos. So these are those more group sessions that you do with other law students from your college, where you go more in depth about the subject and about the lecture content. And they also provide academic study facilities. So that could be a library, or that could be other academic study spaces. But every college does have at least a library. Now, what is the role of the university? We determine the course content. You do not do a different type of law depending on the college that you go to. All law students from all colleges come together here in the faculty, just like you are sitting in this room right now, to do law and to learn law in lectures and seminars and practicals and for their projects. Most of the teaching, bar supervisions, is organized centrally. So whatever college you end up going to, you will be learning the exact same things, the exact same law content. The university is also responsible for setting and marking examinations and also awarding you your degree. So your undergraduate degree will come from the University of Cambridge. Now, how do I choose a college? Cambridge itself has 29 undergraduate colleges. 3 of those are mature colleges, which means that they accept students that are 21 years or older by the time they start their course. 2 of them are women only. I will say, do not spend a massive amount of time looking over those colleges, doing those color-coded, really complicated Excel spreadsheets. You should be focusing your energy on studying for your A-levels, writing a good personal statement, preparing for the LNAT, preparing for the interview. There's so many other parts of your application that are more significant than your college choice, okay? Colleges provide basically the same services. They all provide accommodation, dining and recreational facilities, academic facilities, and IT facilities, pastoral support, academic support, and the opportunity to make lifelong friends. I will say, whatever college you end up in, you will end up defending it and loving it like no other. Whatever Cambridge student you ask, they will say, my college is the best, this is where you have to go. You can go and ask our volunteers outside, I guarantee you they will try and sell you their college. They do differ in terms of the type of accommodation they offer, so whether it's en suite and has fully equipped kitchens, for example, obviously where the accommodation is and where the college itself is. Most colleges are in the centre of town. Some are, for Cambridge standards, really far out, a whole 20-minute walk from the city centre. For us, this is like going to another country. They also differ in terms of their size and how they look. So obviously some colleges are modern, some are older. And also the types of facilities, so things like music facilities, sports facilities, if that's something that matters to you. Collegiate culture, I wouldn't say there's a massive difference, but some colleges can feel a little bit different than others. How to choose? Really, the easier thing you can do is attend open days and events such as this one. You also have the opportunity to attend the university open days in July, and that is when all the colleges will be open for prospective applicants to view. So if you can't do that, there's also lots of information online, virtual tours, YouTube videos. For a lot of people, they've said that how they decided is they had a look around the colleges, one of them just felt right, and they just chose that one. You're also allowed to do what I did, so have no idea and submit an open application. This is absolutely fine as well. We allocate you to a college in that way. There's no advantage or disadvantage to doing this form of application at all. Absolutely. Only thing is, if you do have a specific disability or access requirement, you might need to look at the colleges a little bit more carefully just to make sure that is appropriate to you as much as possible. So, in terms of what we're looking for, what qualities are we looking for in our applicants? We look for the brightest and the best. We do not care about your social background, religious background, financial background, school background. None of that matters to us. There is no specific type of Cambridge student. There's no perfect Cambridge student. There's not a stereotype. There's not a mold. If you're sitting there thinking, I love Cambridge, I'm just not the typical Cambridge student, well, take that idea out of your head because there's no typical Cambridge student. As long as you're motivated, enthusiastic, interested about law, that is what we're looking for. We're, of course, looking about academic ability and potential, any subject requirements, subject interest, a good fit with our course, and that does include fitting our supervision system, so the small group system, and vocational commitment, so work experience, which we don't require, but some other universities might do, so I've just added it on here. So how do we actually assess this information from you? We do consider every application individually. We take everything into account. We don't put specific weightings or rating in any part of the application. Nothing is looked at in isolation. We look at everything together before we make a decision. We do look at your academic record, and do not freak out when I say this, that includes your GCSE grades. We do not have specific GCSE grade requirements though, okay? It's just the best evidence we have of your academic ability so far. So we will look at them, but if they are a little bit lower, that is not the end of the world. What is helpful if in your college reference or school reference, your teacher explains to us why they might be a little bit lower. So it might be that you had a family emergency, extenuating circumstance, whatever it is helpful if we hear from your teacher why they might be a little bit lower, if they are. And of course, your predicted grades, so A-levels, international baccalaureate, whatever you're taking. Your personal statement, as I said, school and college reference. Some colleges might require written work, so that is usually 2 essays of up to 2,000 words each in a related subject, but that's not all colleges. And you don't have to write anything specially for this, it's just things that you've written as part of your A-levels or other qualifications. LNAT test, so your performance in LNAT, and contextual data. So that can include things like the type of school that you went to, or if you've got any widening participation flags, like being in care, for example, or being from a specific ethnic minority. We'll just look at all of that in conjunction all together, just to understand your academic trajectory, basically. And if you have faced any disadvantage that might have led to, you maybe not achieving your full potential. And of course, we do look at your interview if you are invited to one. So academic requirements, we expect the minimum offer level, is A*AA at A level, or 41 to 42 points with 776 in higher level subjects for the International Baccalaureate. We have no subject requirements, you'll be happy to hear, but we do recommend essay-based subjects if you can. Our recent law students had sat at least one of those levels, so English, language or literature, history, or a language, ancient or modern. That does not mean you have to have one of them. Lots of our students don't. They're just really good preparation because they provide those analytical, critical abilities and also essay writing skills that are very applicable to a law course. Other common subjects include sciences, economics, maths, lots of people take maths, further maths, religious studies, so on and so forth. Now, do I need to do an EPQ? No, you don't. If it is available to you, that's wonderful. They can be a great way to demonstrate your research skills and your interests in law, but they're not a requirement anyway. You won't be penalized if you haven't done one. We completely understand that not every school offers it. Not every school allows you to take it, depending on the A-levels that you do. Completely fine if you have not done one. If you have, wonderful as well. The LNAT, this is the Law National Aptitude Test. We use this for admissions and it tests your verbal reasoning, your comprehension, inductive and deductive reasoning, analytical and critical abilities. 9 UK universities use this, including Oxford, and it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. The first section is multiple choice, the second section is essay writing. So you write one essay from 3 possible options. It's not a test of your intelligence or a test of your IQ, also very much not a test of how much law you know. It's all about reasoning and how you're able to argue and defend your ideas, especially for questions that you haven't really seen before. It does cost £75 for UK and EU test centres and £120 for non-UK and EU test centres. Some people might be eligible for bursary support, but I would allow extra time when I applied for that to happen. So don't apply at the last minute because it can take a little bit of time for that to kick in. Also, exam access arrangements, please do apply as early as possible if you have those. It can take some time for Pearson to assess all of those things and actually give you those arrangements or bursary support that you need. So don't let it as the last for the last minute. And in general, test centres do get booked up very quickly, which means that there might be spaces for you to sit the LNAT, but you have to travel 5 hours. And because no one wants to do that, make sure that you book as early as possible. So you can actually book from August 1st. So if, for example, you're applying in October of 2025, you can book from August 2025. And you have to sit the test until, I think, 15th of October this year. So the same date as the UCAS deadline, whatever that date is. So 15th of October for this year specifically. You can sit it all around September as well. So 1st September to kind of 15th of October is when you can sit your LNAT. We do not have specific LNAT requirements. There's no threshold of pass or fail. We just expect you to do as well as possible in your gathered field. So in the field of everybody else applying for that year. More information, including how to book, prices and exam questions, you can find on the LNAT website. UCAS application, as I said, is due on October 15th. Personal statement is the last sort of big thing that you have to do. Now, the format of the personal statement has changed. It used to be a free-flowing essay. Essay. It is now 3 questions, structured questions that you have to respond to. The content is the exact same that we're looking for. So we're looking for you to cover your interest in your course. What do you want to study law? Relevant subjects that you've studied at school and the sort of skills that they've given you. Also supercurricular exploration. And I'll talk about that separately in a second. Now, extracurriculars, do they matter? Do I put them in? So the difference between supercurriculars and extracurriculars. Super, outside of school, related to law, or whatever subject you're applying for. Extra, outside of school, not related to law. So for instance, attending a hearing in your local Crown Court, supercurricular. Going to play football, wonderful, extracurricular. Extracurricular activities that are not related are not really taken into account. They're not really, we read about them, we don't take them into account massively, unless they can prove that you've got organizational and time management skills. My advice, put significantly more focus on supercurriculars. That's what you want to read about. So this is any activity that gets you thinking about legal ideas, including but not limited to books, documentaries, podcasts, following the news. I always found that really important. Seminars, events, open days like this one. YouTube channels, that can be the Law Faculty YouTube channel, for instance. You can attend your local Crown Court and watch hearings, or you can watch Supreme Court hearings in demand. You can do work experience, but it's not required for us here at Cambridge. And you can do free online courses, or you can go and look at different websites that have law resources. Think critically. Please don't do supercurriculars for the sake of doing them. We see many people that in their personal statements will basically give us a supermarket list of everything they've done. Not the point. Less is more. We actually want to see, what questions did you have after doing those activities? What ideas did you get out of them? What did you find interesting? What did you find surprising? What did you find shocking? How did you follow up on that interest? Did you say, okay, this is great, I'm going to go have a muffin or something? Or did you just say, this is really fascinating, I'm going to go actually read a book about it, watch another documentary about it, follow up my interest? This is what we want to see in your personal statement. Critical engagement. What did you get out of it? Explain and explore. Do not just mention, okay? As I said, more is not more here. Less is more. Okay, and remember the UCAS deadline is October 15th at 6 p.m. UK time. My Cambridge application, I'm not going to waffle on too much about because there's not a lot to it. Basically gets sent by your college and it's due a week after the UCAS application, so about 22nd it would be of October. It basically ensures we've got the same information about all of our applicants, and including some information that's not in your main UCAS application. It is online, and it includes things like your A-levels, topics that you've done, your class sizes, and an optional Cambridge-specific personal statement. People get really freaked out about this one. Do I write it? Do I not write it? It does not matter. If you have something extra to say, like, why specifically the Cambridge system works for you, or perhaps you want to talk about a specific course that you're studying, that you could study here that you would enjoy, anything like that that you can't say in your main personal statement, this is a place to say it. If you don't write it, does not matter. It will not make a difference to us. Don't force yourself to write something just so you fill it out. There's no point. And for further information, you can go online and read about the My Cambridge application as well. The interview. So, the interviews happen in December for shortlisted applicants, and they allow us to get a holistic, comprehensive view of yourself and your potential. You might have 1, 2, or 3 interviews, 20 minutes each if it's 2 or 3, 45 to 50 if it's one longer one, and it is conducted by law academic staff, and it is academic and subject focused, but we don't expect any prior knowledge of law. Ideally, you have some, because you are applying for a law degree, but we don't really expect you to have knowledge of the law. It's not a test of your knowledge. We're looking for a fit of your interests and aptitudes for law, genuine interest and motivation, enthusiasm for complex and challenging ideas, for you to be able to express yourself clearly and you have analytical abilities. And we're also looking for something that we call intellectual flexibility, which means, are you open to new ideas? And can you put yourself in a situation where when you have a new problem or a new challenge, you use the information and the knowledge that you already have from your reading or from your A-levels and apply it to solve that challenge and solve that problem, even if you haven't seen it before. So when you come into an interview, you might be asked a question that initially seems quite scary, quite daunting, doesn't have an answer. We don't want you to freak out. We don't care about the answer as much as we care about the journey. We want you to do something that we call reason aloud. So instead of just giving us an answer exam style, we want you to talk us through your thinking process. How did you get from step A to B? What concepts that you already know does the question remind you of? How can you use the skills that you have and the ideas that you have and apply them to this complex challenge that you've never seen before? So when you are in an interview, you will be scared, I will guarantee you that, but try not to freeze. Try to talk interviewers through your thinking process, because what can happen then is they can pick up on things that you're saying and guide you towards the right direction. They might say, I'm not so sure about this idea. Have you considered looking at the question from a different point of view? What about this concept? Have you linked this concept to a question? And then together with this kind of back and forth, you can arrive at the right answer. It's a lot more about walking us through your thinking process rather than it is about the answer itself. If you can't give us the right answer, obviously that's ideal, but we much more care about what you think and how you think. And we want to see that you are confident and can deal with these new problems and that you like doing it as well. Because I will tell you, if you don't love being challenged, you will not love the Cambridge supervision system. In fact, you will hate it. So it is also a test for you to see if you like being challenged and pushed in this way, because that is what Cambridge supervisions are all about. There's a couple of things you can do to prepare. Do stay on top of current news and be aware of what's happening in the legal world. In terms of reasoning aloud, what I always found super helpful was having chats with your teachers about different topics that you're interested in. And just, it can be law topics, it can be something else, but learn to kind of discuss different ideas and topics. Because for a lot of people, where they really freak out is just confidence and speaking aloud and expressing themselves. They might know what to say, but they're not quite sure how to verbally express it. And really, it goes a long way to learn to express yourself clearly, okay? And succinctly as well, which I'm not very good at. The other thing you can do is you can take a couple of essay questions that you might have to do for school. Instead of, writing an essay plan, talk someone through the essay plan. So learn to take the verbal reasoning and the verbal kind of building process that you already have in your head and that you're already using for those essays. And instead of writing it down, just speak it aloud. Learn to speak aloud. Do be honest. Do not come to us with pre-prepared or rehearsed answers. You're not going to know the questions that are going to be in your interview at all. You will have no idea what the interviewers will ask you. It does not help to come in with something ready-made to say, because that's not what we want to see, okay? It's very unlikely it will be relevant, and it will also freak you out if you haven't learned to deal with new situations and new unknown problems. Do take a moment to think, though. Although we do want you to talk us through your thinking process, we don't want you to just immediately start speaking, okay? A couple of seconds to breathe, drink some water, completely fine, okay? And obviously the next step is decisions. So decisions come in January and they come the same date for all Cambridge applicants, regardless of course or college. They do come from the college that you have been interviewed at, usually at the end of January. You might be made an offer and that's wonderful, yay. And it could be from the college that you applied to, or it could be from a different college. At Cambridge, we have this system that we call the winter pool. This is basically when the college that interviews you says, wonderful applicant, super skilled, super interested, we just don't have space for them this year. Maybe they happened to be oversubscribed that specific year. And they instead choose to give you to all of the other colleges, give your application to all other colleges to look at. And another college might pick it up and make you an offer. And this is how we ensure that you never miss out just because you happened to apply to a college that was oversubscribed that year. We have the system that we call the winter pool. And your offer might be conditional, which is a much more likely concept. So basically you have to get certain grades, other qualifications you're currently taking, or it might be unconditional, and that's only if you have already sat all of your qualifications. And that's the minimum offer as a reminder. You may also be unsuccessful, but please do not be deterred from applying just from the idea that you might not be successful. There's no way to get an offer without actually applying. So do give it a shot. Do give it a try. I'm sure each and every single one of you in this room, including all the parents, is absolutely able to apply to Cambridge Law and be successful. You can work hard, you can show your interest, and you can be successful. So please give it a go. And if you've come to this open day, it means that you're seriously considering it. So please do give this a go. There's a lot of useful resources to help you in this process. I see people taking a lot of pictures. This will also be uploaded on YouTube, so don't freak out too much if you've missed some of it. University admissions pages and college admissions pages are by far the best because, as I said, colleges are the ones doing the admissions process and running the admissions process. So they're really good sources of information. But also our own website, the faculty's blog. So the Think Cambridge Law blog is really good and it's got a lot of super curricular suggestions. You can follow us on social media to see what sort of things we're running. You can also visit the Faculty of Law YouTube if you want to see day in the life videos, or as I said, the recordings from today. And of course, you can do what I would love for you to do. Email me, send me a message. outreach@law.com.sc.uk is my email, and I'm always super happy to answer any question that you might have. There's no silly questions, there's no small questions, there's no large questions, okay? Just email me for whatever you have to ask. So, I want to thank you so much for coming to this open day today, and I really wanted to thank you for listening to me blab on about this. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I wish you all the best of luck in all your future applications. I will stick around here at the end if you've got any questions, but I do realise a lot of you might have to leave, so I'm just going to stick around, and if you've got a question, please do come and ask me. Thank you so much.